Okay, so the process of pipeline is one of the most important things I've ever learned in the real estate business. I'm going to break it down for you today. So many of you have looked at your real estate business. You're actually frustrated by, what do I spend my time on? Do I spend my time on doing mailers? Do I spend my time on trying the online leads? And I don't understand that when I get people under contract, why they're not following through. I just want to make more money at the end of the day. Well, if you try to reverse engineer this process, you're going to actually end up with a pipeline that you can look at and see the effectiveness of not only from the top of the funnel and how you're introducing people to your sales process, but also at the end of the day, how you're not only gaining money from this, from being in business here, but also how you're actually creating an ecosystem where people want to be a part of your business and continue sending more referrals year after year. So here's how it works. The first of this is going to be, we're going to talk about this as the pipeline process. And the most important thing that you can really understand from this is that this is all about efficiency. Most people don't understand that it's about efficiency in the real estate business. I'll start with an actual pipe. We'll draw this pipe, and the top of the pipe, we're going to call this a funnel, okay? And in the funnel, we're going to add specific things like where we get our business from. So for example, this is sphere of influence is one way that we can get business. Another are online leads, okay? And maybe another one are mailers, right? Neighborhood marketing, etc. We'll add a few more in as we continue to go. And then throughout this process, we're going to build an actual pipe. Now, before we build the pipe, let's just talk about what goes into the top of the funnel. There are four major things that you need to understand. Number one, it is the number of leads. So whether that's sphere of influence and how many people am I going to add to my sphere of influence, whether that's mailers, how many neighborhoods and the homes that I'm going to continue to show my value proposition to, or online leads, how many do I want to buy? That leads us to number two. Speaking of buying, it's the cost. How much does it cost me to follow up with someone from my sphere of influence? Is that an email? Is that a text message? Is it a video text? Is that maybe an event that I host? Or perhaps it's a mailer that I send out to them, or maybe it's an item of value. How much does it cost me to purchase online leads? That's also very important. Speaking of online leads, one of the most important things that you can do is the follow-up. What is the follow-up frequency? Here was frequency required for each one of those leads. And beyond that, we're going to get into a fourth thing, which is called the incubation time. What is the follow-up frequency? The follow-up frequency is the amount of times that I need to actually interact with someone here in order for them to reach out and begin to go through my actual conversion and closing follow-up process, okay? So let's start with mailers, for example. How many times would I need to mail a neighborhood in order for someone in there to actually get into the process of, hey, I might want to sell my house? And then what's the incubation time frame from that? They may reach out at the start and say, you know what, I want to use your online program in order to tell me how much my house is worth, but it's generally going to take me about a year in order to convert someone there. Why? Because they need to see your name. They need to recognize that you're doing sales in the area. They need to get familiar with you. You might actually need to go out and door knock, introduce yourself, host a neighborhood event, etc. And all of that, so they start to work in with each other. And then you start to realize, what is the cost associated to convert someone from the neighborhood that I'm trying to fund? What is it going to cost me in order to convert an online lead? What is it going to cost me from sphere of influence? And the problem is that in this business, there's not one direct source that we're ever pulling from. We're never like, okay, I can only do sphere of influence. Maybe years and years ago, when online leads weren't an option, or etc., maybe there were far less options. But today, there's so many options out there that realtors constantly bounce in between all of these different sources of leads, and they start to lack on what we're going to call our efficiency, because they're not actually spending time on task, they're not being consistent, and they're not seeing it through, so they get confused about the process. Well, I don't like online leads because why? They're going to find out here, I don't like the amount of follow-up frequency in order to require and the efforts for that. Or I don't like mailers. Why? Because the incubation time is a long time. I don't like online leads. Why? Because the cost is so high. It's thousands of dollars in order to buy a zip code through one of these online portals. But what they fail to realize is that the number of leads here is going to be highly impactful in their efficiency rating as they move throughout the process. So let me show you, this is how it works. The next segment to the pipe, okay, this is a pipe, this is our funnel, here's the pipe, is what's called conversion. Okay, conversion. And in that, there's actually an efficiency rating. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but Zillow put this data out there years ago as they did studies throughout all of America. Realtors are spending literally over $1 billion a year on online leads. And do you know the efficiency of that billion? Here's what it is. The best teams, the best people out there, 4%. 4% is what they're converting. Now, I don't know about you, but if you were to have, let's say, a boiler or a furnace that you recommended to your client, and you said, hey, listen, you know what, we went through the home inspection process, and your boiler, unfortunately, is not performing too well. They're saying, well, how well is it performing? It's performing at a 4%. So for every dollar that you put in, you get 4 cents worth of heat. They would say, we need a new boiler right away. Well, that's exactly what's happening, and I'm going to describe to you that you actually need to look at your efficiency and what is required in order to take that and move it up, okay? So conversion's about a 4%. We can change that number, however, through education, training, expectation setting, etc. The next section is the gold. This is the elbow, right? This is where they become clients, okay? That's either a seller client, a buyer client, investor, whatever. From here, we actually need to offer on properties. And there's an efficiency rating to that as well. That's for people who actually go through that process and say, I'm going to take you on tours. I'm going to understand what the sellers want in this market. I'm going to understand what the sellers are expecting for offer prices, what they're expecting for types of contingencies, etc. And those who understand it well are probably at about an 80% success rate with their clients to take a client, any one client. I'm not saying on every property they've got an 80% chance to win, but an 80% chance that they're going to actually convert one of these clients and get them through the offer process at some point in time. At some point. Now, those who do not understand this, all you're going to do is you're going to simply close this out and you're going to maybe put 20%. They're really not good. They don't understand that it's requiring, you know what, we're going to have to limit some of our contingencies and find some creative ways in order to solve the client's requests in order to get them through that process so they can actually win a home. Or on the seller's side, the sellers are asking questions like, where am I going to find my next house? Those who are MLS agents who are just responding to the market, they're reacting. They're there trying to like, okay, let's try to find you another house and create Hubbard offers and all this other kind of stuff. Those are the ones who actually have a really hard time because they haven't done the education and expectation setting process with their client in order to say, you know what, I'm going to find you that house off the market. I'm going to go ahead and mail the neighborhoods, door knocking. I'm going to find you a house, right? And so let's pretend that that's back up at 80% because we're not reactive agents here. We're responsive. We're going out there. We're finding. The next section here is a big one. We're going to find inspections show up. It's a buyer's right in order to inspect the property from the roof to the foundation and everything in between. But if we don't understand that maybe we're not able to do certain inspections, or we need to forego those or have a contractor or whatever look at that, maybe we're really not good at that. And maybe by the time we get the offer stage, but by the time we get into the inspections, man, maybe our buyers really just want the moon and the stars, you know, from the sellers. And we're not really good at that. And only 60% of our contracts go through, and our efficiency here isn't as great through the inspection. So we need to learn how to navigate those better. The next section to this is mortgage. And I find this very, very funny because this is one of the biggest processes to the real estate transactions, the money. What are we selling? We're selling real estate that costs money. And for most buyers there, they do require a mortgage. And instead of saying to buyers, hey, I know that there's a zillion options for buyers to choose all of these lenders, just like there's the option for them to choose inspectors and attorneys and realtors like ourselves. Why don't I connect you with at least some of the best in the business? You don't have to utilize them, but at least they're the best in the business. And there, you're not going to run into as many problems when you know you've fully vetted the mortgage company, that they're doing the right expectation setting that you did here, and that they're going to see them through their process. And perhaps if we do that well, we're going to have about a 90% or better efficiency rating at getting people through. But those agents who don't, they're, oh, you know what? I saw you wanted to go with a Gecko or a Rocket or a whatever in order to get your mortgage or insurance or whatever. That rating is probably something like this. And we see some very, very desperate sellers in situations and desperate buyers, all because they were searching for a specific rate and they got lured in there. They were looking to be efficient. They were looking to save money. But in actuality, they ended up hurting themselves more. So let's pretend we did a good job and we got a 90% rating here. And then lastly, we've actually got our closings. And this, hopefully, you should be at a really high percentage of getting people once they're mortgage committed, once they're walking through the process. But there are times in which we just need to be real. We need to be real that, you know what, someone gets cold feet, or the transaction right even after the mortgage, it falls apart, someone loses a job. And so we've got an efficiency rating there that's commensurate to that. And hopefully at the end of the day, if we've done our job, the whole point of being in business, yes, we want to help people buy and sell homes in the biggest, transactions of their life, but we're here to make money. We're here to be in business because we're running ourselves like a business. And any business owner is going to look at their efficiencies in every single one of these categories in order to find out what is the effectiveness, what is the efficiency of how I'm doing in bringing people through this process, and what do I need to do? If that's on conversion and I need to actually learn my dialogues better in order to help provide value up front, maybe it's I need to provide value reports to people on their showings. Maybe it's I need to really better explain agency in a much more comprehensive way so people really understand the value that they're getting, that they're not just getting someone who's turning on lights and opening up doors, but they're really getting a true professional who's able to walk them through. Maybe that needs to happen, and suddenly we can start doing things like this, increasing it just marginally, okay? And so I want to impress upon you the value of doing this and just increasing a little bit. If we were to take a real estate transaction and we were to walk that through, think about the cost that's happening every time we find that there are holes, okay, in here. There's little leaks in every one of our businesses, and somehow for these, there's massive leaks that are happening. What would happen if we ourselves did some math on this and actually walk through what would it be for ourselves in business if we apply that cost of education? Because all this that's spraying out, that's an educational cost, and you will pay for your education. You'll either pay for it up front with the time that you spend and running yourself like a business and actually looking at this, or you'll spend it in the lost opportunities for every single one of these and very upset clients. Because what happens here at the bottom, this is extremely important. What happens here at the bottom is that if we do a great job and we remind people of what we do, why we do it, the value, and we become for them an amazing source of value even after the closing, and we take some of our money, we invest it back into here, and we take our clients, they're not just transactions, because there's going to be an effectiveness actually here, and we're going to call it past clients, current clients, whatever you want to call them, just for an effectiveness. And there is leaks in some of your businesses. Some of them are bigger than this. You know that 80-something% of real estate transactions, the buyers and sellers say that they will use their realtor again, and something around 20% of them actually do. Why? Because the realtors never realized the efficiency and the effectiveness to put them back into a process of referrals and didn't understand how many of their referrers, how many of their past clients actually become referral partners and utilize them again. And that's another place that they can look at their effectiveness and put that back into the top and work them through the real estate process again. This is how you create an ecosystem. So to recap here, if you're looking at sphere of influence, it works. If you're looking at online leads, it works. If you're looking at mailers, it works. What you need to realize is there is a cost, there's a follow-up frequency, and there's an incubation time period to all of them. So how do we end this? Most people will just say, well, I'm going to use the one that's the best, right? And for the most part, we've recognized that in the real estate industry to be the sphere of influence. Why? Because there's very little cost. You throw an event, they already know you, like you, trust you. The follow-up frequency is once a quarter, maybe. You can put some resources out online, send them a couple of things in the mail, handwritten notes. It's not really that long. And the incubation time, when most people just give you a call, it's like, hey, would you like to come list my house? So they talk about that, but the problem is that they don't see enough business with it right away, so they utilize these, and then they get frustrated with all of this. So let me help you solve this. There is one thing that can add more money than ever before to your business. One thing, beyond efficiency, okay? It's that you can put more money here by either increasing these effectiveness ratings here, especially conversion, this is the big one, or the number one is the number of leads that you put through. This is it, the number of leads. If I could give one piece of advice to any real estate agent who is starting out in this business, it is by getting in front of more people than ever before. If I can't control this right now, I don't even have a lot of people in order to work through my pipeline. I can barely measure because I've only done 2, 3, 5 closings total. Yes, maybe you can look at that effectiveness. Maybe you can gauge this because you're not sure how much data that you have to put in there. The number one thing you can do is start adding more people. So that's my question to you. If you look at all of this and you know you can run yourself as a business, how many people are you adding to your database every single day? Because that's going to allow you to have conversations and eventually offers, inspections, get through mortgage process, closing money, and refer them back through your past clients. But if you could today add another 5 people, and tomorrow another 5 people, and then maybe one person through an online lead, and then maybe you do some mailers, and put them on a consistency here, understanding the different time frames, you won't be frustrated. You're going to have a clear grasp of your business, and you're going to make more money than ever. Hopefully this has been helpful.